Could you speak a little bit more about the rule of life? Because I don't know a lot about it, but I know I want to have one. So how do I make one?
Christopher's going to give us another whole hour, aren't you, Christopher? You know, it's a very monastic term, and if you're a member of a religious order or an associate of a religious order, it's usually there pretty clear about your devotional practices. I will attend a liturgy XX number of times. I will make a retreat. I will have X times a day for prayer. It's quite clear. My own concept of that is expanding beyond our devotional practices into how we use our time, our energy, into how we relate to the world, how we continue to grow, how we avoid distractions. So our rule, as I say, can take in how we react, one of the things that's important to me is the cultivation of simplicity, how we can keep from being just overwhelmed by all the stuff around us. Much of it's really nice stuff, but how we can keep from being overwhelmed by all the choices we make and all the things around us. So how we can cultivate simplicity, how we can grow in generosity, not just writing checks for things, although standing in a church, please, writing checks is important, whether it is to our religious groups, organizations, or charity of all sorts. I would never minimize that, but how we can make the gift of ourselves in whatever way. Wonderful early 20th century English teacher and mystic Evelyn Underhill. She had a really scary spiritual director. And, he was. And he didn't suggest, in those days, spiritual directors demanded that this very patrician London lady go work in a soup kitchen. Well, how can we make a gift of ourselves? That's another piece of it. Spiritually, we all need soup kitchens. Maybe they're really soup kitchens, or maybe it's somehow spiritually, how can we give gifts of ourselves? Not being doormats, not being enablers, but yet being open, and I think in the ministry of spiritual direction, we do give a gift of ourselves. But looking at ways in which we can structure our lives to grow in charity, to grow in generosity, to grow in simplicity, and to be present in community. So a rule can be very explicit. I will do this, this, this. I will make a retreat every so often. Then there are the harder things that are not so specific, but they do shape us. And then we keep revising it. Now that's another important bit. A rule is kind of like a working budget. We have to change it. The rule that maybe works for us at age 20 doesn't work for us at 50. But it's mainly stewardship. How do I use the gifts I have been given? And I did a retreat once on I am the vine and you are the branches. So I went off to the store, Barnes & Noble or someplace, and bought a couple of books on growing grapes. And I think of the rule as being like the trellis that holds up the grapevine. And we all need a different shaped trellis because we're all trying to grow our grapes in different circumstances. And it just sustains us. It doesn't tie us up. One of my writers said, do not tie the vine to the trellis too tight. Just be sustained. And then keep revising.